Do you not like any effing and jeffing? Do you not want to hear us saying profanities throughout this podcast? Then maybe you should not listen, because sometimes bad words slip out. Maybe we'll say something that could potentially offend you as well. We're not intending to, although Richard maybe is that sort of person. But I'm certainly not, as Jim, the wonderful, helpful, lovely person I am. I'd never want to offend you, but sometimes I cuss like a sailor.
And here we are. We have Jim standing in one corner at 6'3", weighing in at 378 pounds of bullcrap. And me, Richard, who is the gentleman, the southern gentleman, might I add, standing at a lovely 5'8", weighing in at only 201 very muscular pounds. You know, most of that is my head and tongue because it is sharp. But we are the host of Knights of the Braille podcast.
I see that was a fictional introduction because you're 200 pounds of pure muscle.
Exactly. 201. You forgot the one. There's a one in there.
Well, yeah, welcome to the podcast this week, guys. Today we're going to be talking about play by post. What is play by post? How Richard and I are integrating it into two games that we're playing, how we found setting it up and running it this early on, and we'll come back to it in a few months as well to investigate how we've gotten along, what we've changed, what we would have done differently at the beginning. And at the end of this podcast, Richard will tell us a bit more about the KWF and Discordia. But yeah, how would you describe play by post, Richard?
You know, like you said, the campaign that you're running and the KWF are, you know, quite different. I mean, they're still the play by post, but whereas the KWF has matches that after each week I can delete, you know, and then put up the new quote unquote card for the wrestling federation. For me, it's really simple. You know, I'm not going into like the detail during the matches like you are with your campaign. What we do is we either say what we rolled and give the move and how much damage it caused, or you know, I sometimes roll in the channel depending on how much time I have when everybody, you know, starts getting to rolling, because I am controlling the NPCs or non-playable characters, for everybody out there who may not know what that means. And it's very simple. There's you know, we'll get to this towards the end, but there's several things I would have done a bit differently if
Well,
I had
before we get
known.
into the weeds of what we do differently, just to clarify for anyone, the play by post is where you have a forum or a chat, say like in our Discord, and you post the actions of your character. So you type them out. And in Richard's case, he's running wrestling matches where you post the moves of your character, your roles, the outcomes. So it's more like a video game format. Is that fair to say, Richard?
Very fair to say, yeah. Like a turn-based video game, if anybody's
Yeah,
ever
and
played those.
it's much more mechanical and a nice break from the narrative, weight of a role playing game where you're just fighting it out and tuning your character to be the best wrestler in a certain style that you want, rather than dragging in that narrative part. Although technically you could with what you're doing in between. I guess that could come later, right?
It may, especially if we get more people who are in there and playing an actual wrestler. You know, I would not be opposed to seeing some things like that. So, you know, only time will tell how successful the KWF is.
Yeah, and I'm running Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay in a play-by-post format for reasons that I'll get into later. But that is a narrative role-playing game, so people post as their characters, what they're doing, what they're saying, who they're speaking to. And then when it gets to combat, it becomes just like Richard's Knights Wrestling Federation, where it's more mechanical, more video game-like, and, you get an action and a movement, and you post back and forth in that way. But yeah, Richard, take it away with how you set it up, what you would have done differently, and how you're finding it.
Well, thankfully we had interviewed Blind Fury or Matt, or as the nicest guy in the world, I'll refer to him, had to give a few tips on the podcast about what to do, and I did a lot of Google researching, and basically what it boiled down to is I found what worked for me. There's several different styles that I come across that I can't remember the names of right now, but none of them were a wrestling fed. I had found some websites that says, "Oh, this is a wrestling fed play by post," and you click enter and you think, "Oh, this is going to be easy. I just got to look at this." And 404, the page cannot be displayed.
Oh, great.
Yeah, don't you love them? So I basically just finally got frustrated enough that this is what I'm going to do. This is what's going to work for me. So I created the category Knights Wrestling Federation and did the channel called KWF Rules, which allowed anybody, if I am correct in that, can see that, can post in that, but only whenever I put up the other channels for like the actual match, say Fernando Fuentes vs Rex Shooter. Only KWF talent, people who have joined into the Federation, can actually see those different threads or channels. And they post in there, they roll in there, and I've decided either to allow them to roll in the chat or they can roll with their smart device, because for some people it is very difficult to roll inside of the channel for whatever reason. I know Jim and myself have used it enough that it's pretty much secondhand now. So they can use their smart device to roll and type it out there. And I have asked them, and they are a really good group that I have, to be sure to put what they roll, their move, how much damage it causes, the heat that they get, and the energy that it costs them to do the move. And they have all been really good about doing that. For the most part, just like me and Jim, we will forget certain things here and there, so it's good. But having done this, I have gone back through the rules and the character setup and looked at it and combined both health and energy, because there's no need to try to keep up with two different numbers there. Just combine them and, keep up with one number there. It's a lot easier for me. Should be a lot easier for them. Basically, as we call it down here in the South, there's no need to keep kicking the dead horse. Make it easier on yourself. But that's really the only major change that I have made. I take that back, Jim. I apologize. Fernando and myself were talking, and we come up with a better pinning combination or commands than what either one of the feds had. To whereas if you get like below a 20, you have to roll a 1, 2, or a 3. Below 15, you have to roll a 1 or a 2, and below 10, you got to roll a 1. So if you roll one of those, then you kick out. If you don't, then you lose. And
that's really cool.
Yeah, we seem to like it better whenever me and him I was helping him learn how to do the moves and all. And what I do not do on the post in any of them is post who wins until after the deadline has passed. Because if you see, oh yeah, well I won. I mean, if you're keeping track of it, then you know. But if you're not keeping track of it, then it kind of ruins the surprise as much as there is of one. And I try to keep it as realistic as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think stuff you touched on there, I'll come back to. But yeah, my play-by-post, I'm running Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, which some people would know I'm already running a live play of. So why would I also want to do play-by-post? Well, there's two main reasons. One is that it actually helps you to learn the rules better when you can take it slow, read it at your own pace, and post, once you're fully understanding things. I found that I'm learning the rules better this way than a live play where you're kind of rushing through stuff and you make it up as you go along sometimes. This way you can stick to the rules and learn it better. And the second reason is that I want to get better at my descriptions in role play and my ability to improvise. And I think that giving yourself time to come up with better descriptions and better improvisation will lead to better live plays in the future. So that's why I'm running the play by post. Plus, you know, starting a family in the next year or two. So I want to be able to continue playing in Knights of the Braille, but might not be able to commit to live plays for a little while. So I want to have that option too. But yeah, Richard touched on a bunch of stuff just really great. Like setting expectations. That goes for any role playing game, not just a play by post. You need to set expectations in a live play by, when you're going to play, what the content of the adventure is going to be, what players are expected to do, and so on and so forth. And the same thing is with the play by post. How often are you expected to post? How often are you going to play? So on and so forth. So I set that expectation that once every 24 hours, I'm going to push the story forward. So, if you need me to delay that because you have personal stuff going on, by all means, send me a message. We'll drag it out a little longer. But, for the most part, I'm going to keep pushing it forward. And that way the people engaged can keep playing. And the second thing you touched on, Richard, was about clearly listing information about how much heat it generates, how much damage, all that stuff. I've got templates laid out to keep things consistent, and that's a good rule for accessibility as well. If you want good accessibility, keep things consistent. And I'm finding that doing that in a play by post is good too. I'm pretty early on. I'm only a week into it, really enjoying it so far. I like the laid back approach. Richard, have you found that the slower approach allows you to look over the rules and get more familiar with them than a live play?
I have, unless I am talking to Fernando, and I am definitely giving him a jab here because he wanted to learn how to do the roles of the moves and learn to roll on Discord and things like that. So of course, I made him in a voice channel, and we were talking over, it, and he's like, "I want to go for a pin." So I had been doing it as, if you got down to 0, you got pinned. That's
Yeah.
pretty straightforward. Because nobody has typed in the channel, I go for a pin. So it hadn't come up. Well, Fernando, bless his heart, it's going to throw me something that I haven't come across yet. So I was trying to look through there, and I was doing the, the Control F to search and find it. Couldn't find anything in there. Found about a pinning combination in a tag team match. So I was like, so basically, I guess you could call it on the fly. It's whenever him and I came up with that rule of the 20, 1, 2, 3, and and all of that, which I think works really well.
Yeah.
It benefited him because he came out with a victory in the match. But it's, to me, Jim, it's whenever you can be adjustable, or be able to make changes on the fly like that. If something isn't clearly answered or clearly defined, that helps you as a game master and as a player. If it's allowed to have a better experience too. And I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, it's different for everyone, right? I feel that I don't have a deep knowledge of Warhammer Fantasy roleplay yet, not the way I do with D&D, for example. So
Right.
for me, it's great having this slow approach, having the opportunity to learn it, and that way, when I do have to make those up on the fly, you've got a deep enough understanding that you can combine ideas to make an educated guess on, pinning or whatever else, right?
Right. So, and I do believe, like, between his and I's both knowledge of wrestling and role playing games in general, we came up with a very viable solution, that
Yeah.
worked really well. And of course, I'm going to take the credit. It's not Fernando's that he was pissed. But honestly, it was between both of us, and it it will work from here on. And like I said about the group, they are really good and understanding about, hey, look, I'm new to the whole play by post, and I'm trying to combine these two to make them work as a play by post. So what happens this week may not be what goes on next week.
Yeah.
So and they're really good in understanding.
Absolutely, yeah. Making change. I've made a few changes already. That's not working. Let's change that. Let's give you guys more freedom to get narrative with it. But yeah, I've been
Right.
checking in on the KWF play by post. It's really interesting and it looks really cool. Like it's flowing really well now. Everyone's dedicated and putting all the relevant information. Actually, we've got a really good bot for Warhammer, which is specifically for it. So it's called Jodri bot, which is Jodri. And this bot's amazing. It can generate a character for you. So it's like a
Ooh.
choose your own adventure function on it where you generate your character and then it makes all the rolls for you. It can roll crits. It can generate pies for you, which is amazing.
Like
Um,
Apple?
it will so halflings in Warhammer will put any old shit in a pie just to jazz it up, so you can get pine needle pies and everything, and it just generates a random one for you. It's
Oh,
awesome.
that is awesome.
So yeah, we've been using Jodri bot with ours. Having a good bot, having all the information laid out is really helpful. I've got a separate channel in our Warhammer part that is specifically for all the character information. So you can look up all your characters' info really quickly in the Discord, and that way everything's in one place. You're not jumping out and around. And like with your KWF rules, it makes a big difference to just go to one place and play the game. I think it makes it a big
Hold on a
difference
second.
too.
I'm stealing that idea. I'm gonna put the wrestlers' bios up on Discord. I'm stealing Jim's
Yeah.
idea. I think
Absolutely, man. I list
I
out the
think I
base
come up with it.
information. Oh
That's
yeah, I
my
think you
idea.
did. Yeah, yeah. I copied it from you. But
Yeah,
that's
that's
why
right.
all
That's right.
my Warhammer characters are wrestlers, actually. But
Uh, that is a
I
great idea, though.
I put all the information there, and then I also have separate channels viewable only by the player, so they can
Yeah.
post updates there, and you can do chat with them without anyone else seeing if you want to do anything underhanded, of course.
Me, underhanded.
Hmm.
As my eyes shift from side to side. Not me. But that
But
is a really good idea, Jim. I like that.
occasionally I have a half decent idea.
Yeah, remember you
But
stole it from me though, so.
I did, yeah. I'm remembering incorrectly. How is Discordia, Richard? How did you find? Explain what Discordia is for everyone and how you found making the first one and what you've done differently with the second one.
Well, the first one, I was trying to do it myself and was writing out the matches. So, yes, the matches that you heard on Discordia #1, which is the KWF weekly TV show found on YouTube.com. Not really, but that's what we say. Uh, I wrote them out and converted them with a text to MP3 conversion tool that you can find for free, and it is accessible on the internet. Uh, and I had a lot of fun writing them because I used to write matches back whenever I was in fantasy wrestling as well. But a lot of people, contacted me. Some people even here where I live said they liked it, but they tended to get into the where I was actually calling moves there towards the end of the show. Like I'd list a couple moves and then I'd actually record my voice. Said that they seemed to like that better, and I also got some advice from a user out here called The Hunted who has been helping me do the audio editing. And again, I'm giving him or them credit. And I thank you again so much for the help and advice and all. Said that you can do more with sound than having to actually write out the description. And since they are so intelligent and definitely into audio editing, I actually took their advice, and let them do what they do because they are obviously really, really good at it, as anybody who has listened to Discordia #2 will know. and I got with Jesse on Discordia 2, and then Fernando with Discordia 3, and we just in the background we'd put in independent wrestling matches for our benefit, so that we can get into the mood or to the mode, and we'll call matches, and I will combine the two files, send them to the hunted, and they perform the magic that they do.
Ooh, very interesting.
Um,
So Discordia 2, for anyone that's listening, will have just gone up by the time you listen to this podcast. So it will be up next Saturday from when we're recording this, which will be the Saturday before this airs.
right. If Jim says it, it's right. I don't pay attention, so I'm just saying yeah. But the Discordia 2 and 3 will be a lot better, I do believe.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to listening to it. Had a busy week, haven't had the opportunity yet, but I enjoyed Discordia 1. I got a little confused with some of the way it was structured, but I think you've definitely picked
Yeah.
that up and moved forward with it. So I'm really looking forward to the next one. I think it's a really cool project, actually.
I'm having a lot of fun with it. It was a bit rough getting it up and started because of having to learn and search and figure out things, but it is getting there, and I do believe that they will be good from here on out. A lot of confusion, I believe, came from the first one where the text to speech sounded the same. There was no real way there to change voices, so it did confuse a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that's
absolutely.
where most of it came in at.
Yeah. But yeah, this is really cool, man. I'm enjoying it. So with turning your play by post now into a podcast and continuing it, um, how would you rate a play by post as compared to a live play?
Uh, I really like being in person live. But and I know that if it's not your turn, then you can kind of let your mind wander.
Mm.
It does happen. Um, I like them equally though, as far as getting the mechanics down, getting the play by post will. This is what I'm doing. Boom. You can't really go back and change your mind because hey, it's already there. It's in written.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I like it a little bit more in the aspect that it's really straightforward. You know, in person, your DM or your game master or other players can somewhat sidetrack you, and not calling out any names, but I also run a group called the Rhymers, and Jesse runs a group called the Dentist, and they do seem to get sidetracked from time to time. Uh, but with the play by post, there so far I've not found anything that was sidetracking.
Yeah. I'm the same as you, where I go off the energy of people and, you know, having a bit of banter with people in the live play definitely helps to move things along. I think people get pretty creative when they're going off one another more so
Yeah,
than the play by post is very solitary, as you said, right? So
right.
I enjoy them both, but yeah, I think live play will always be number one, but live play requires much more preparation.
It does, and I'm not sure how much you use a screen reader, but live play you can put tone or inflection into your voice and what you say. As
Mhm.
if you do it on a play by post, it's yes, I decide to walk up to the bar, but live you're like, yep, I'm going up to the bar. It's
Yeah.
it's different in that aspect as well.
Plus, we like doing funny voices. So, it's just
Yeah.
enjoyable doing all the different characters as a player
Yeah.
or a GM.
Although mine mostly sound the same, dumb redneck,
I brought in a new voice just for my Warhammer game last week. I tried a Scandinavian accent for the first time.
Oh, do give us a sample then.
I don't know if I could yet without embarrassing myself, but I'm slowly improving it. It will be good in a couple of months, I promise.
Excellent. Excellent then.
Yeah. Okay, man. Well, I think that's about it for our play by post discussion. We will come back in a few months with what we've learned and hopefully be able to give advice on how to start it and run it efficiently for the very different styles we're doing. Maybe you want to do a combat heavy play by post that Richard can give great advice for, or maybe you want to do a narrative play by post, which I can hopefully give better advice on in a few months. But do you have any closing thoughts on the play by post, Richard?
Um, you know, just like with everything else, find what works for you. Find the medium. You may like both of our styles. Well, combine them and, you know, like I said, do what works for you.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you wanted to cover before we wrap up today, Richard?
If it's okay, I do believe that we need to announce that next week we will have the creator of Star Wars 5E on the podcast.
Ooh.
I have talked to them. They are very willing and eager to do the podcast, so I'm excited. And it means a lot to me. So I'm going to study up on some Star Wars stuff. And if I get anything wrong, Jim, you know who I'm blaming, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Star Wars 5e, what a fantastic game in so many ways that it gets that old feeling of D&D where all the species are very different, all the classes feel really different. And best, yeah, it's free, it's accessible. The creator has been so helpful with Richard. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about Star Wars 5e, man.
I can't either. It is awesome and really, really looking forward to this.
And if you want to check out Star Wars 5e, why don't you go over to our podcast feed and listen to Richard's weekly game of Star Wars 5e?
Exactly. Shameless plug there. I like it. But
Yeah, well, it's our podcast, so we'll plug wherever the fuck we.
yeah, exactly. But is there anything else that you have to say, Sir Giles? I mean, Jim.
No, that's about it for me for this week. Pretty boring. No audio books really. Still working through Lid Dresden files, and working on a bunch of stuff in the background that we'll be able to announce very soon, hopefully.
Awesome. Well, I guess then we'll hear them next week. On out.